So here I am at the very beginning of the Doha Corniche, the purpose-built seafront walk that starts from here and works its way around a crescent shape and ends up roughly where you see the Sheraton hotel building, that triangular building at the end there with the city centre in the background. I have done a separate video of my long walk along the Corniche at night, and that video stopped at the MIA Park and the Museum of Islamic Art building, which I refer to in my video as the Burqa building, and explain the reasons for doing so. So this is the start of the Corniche, boat yards and some new buildings going up, and you can see in the background there, this is the container stadium, Stadium 974. Again, I've done a separate video of that, and you can see that at your leisure. And there is a beach at the back of that, which I haven't been able to get to, but I understand and have been reliably informed that it is a beautiful beach and it is definitely worth going. So I'm going to take this walk from this starting point of the Corniche all the way to the MIA, which I think will be about 1.5 kilometers, so about a mile. And just to give you context, directly behind me at the start of the Corniche is of course the wonderful architectural feat that is the Qatar National Museum in the shape of a desert rose crystal. And I've made a separate video, the tour around the perimeter, explaining what it is, what's inside, and what you can expect to see when you come here. So let's start this walk along the Corniche, this time during the daytime, so you get a better idea. As I said, this is about 6.5 kilometers along the Arabian coast, and it's about 20 to 4 in the afternoon. Temperature is about 25 degrees, but seeing as we are next to the water, there is, like with all of Doha, and a common theme in my videos, the sea breeze just softens the heat and makes it extremely pleasant an area to be in and walk around. And again, another common theme in all of these videos is the cleanliness of the place. Look at it. There are bins and people make use of it. It's absolutely spotless. And you walk along this Corniche right the way across to the Sheraton hotel, you notice the same thing. Immaculately kept grounds, perfectly clean walkways, and this blue is actually this soft stuff that you find in children's play areas. There's a bit of a bounce to it. People ride their bikes along there, and of course it's perfect for running and jogging, and this is what a lot of people do very early in the morning and late at night. Something else that you will have picked up out there, cruise liners, 2-3 of them stationed over there just at the back of the Museum of Islamic Art, which you can't see at the moment. But so these cruise liners, I think, I'm not sure whether one or the two that you can see there, have approximately 10,000 rooms, effectively floating cities. And that first one housed the England players' families, and a good time they had as well. I'm sure they didn't want to leave it as early as they did, but all good things must come to an end, even if it happens prematurely or too often for the England football team. Anyway, see some guys here doing a bit of fishing. water is actually beautiful and clean. This walk is one of the best things you can do when you come to Doha. Whether it's in the morning, late at night, during the day. The trees provide plenty of shade. There are natural breaks. You can sit. There are exercise equipment all along here. And for the football, they created effectively a big boulevard, 6.5 kilometer boulevard, promenade, seafront. And there's recently been a carnival atmosphere from this end all the way to the Sheraton Hotel at West Bay City Centre. As I said, the weather this time of the year in December, of course it's middle of their winter, average temperature 24-25 degrees. For Brits this is perfect weather, and it's 25-26 degrees but actually feels 23-24, close to the water, and it's just perfect. And what's built up along this route for the football is of course food stalls and drinks places, entertainment, big screens, lots of things for people to do and get involved with. And there in the background you've got the old Doha city centre, and over in the distance with the tall towers you've got the new. Now this is why I like Qatar and Doha, because they haven't erased their past in order to build the future. They've tried to sympathetically retain as much as possible and reflect it in their architecture and their surroundings. And this could be anywhere. Southern Europe, southern France, Spain, Mediterranean. Very Mediterranean feel about it this time of the year actually. There are people taking pictures, videos, locals, tourists. And there is a place here for everybody just to find a quiet spot. 6.5 kilometers. There's a lot of coastline, big steps leading onto the water. And what's nice is getting onto that, not in this side anyway, but in other parts where you can get right up close, take your socks and shoes off, just dip your feet into the Arabian Gulf waters, and it really is a soothing massage. I did it last night for about an hour, went back, I slept like a baby. I've done a lot of walking. If I had one of those step counters, I think I'd be in the several million steps by now. I have quite enjoyed, and this is the thing about this desert, small desert nation, and how different bits have sprung up at different times, but slowly but surely they've managed to knit it all together and create a walkable, accessible, soft, green, friendly environment that's very well connected, and you don't feel as though you're detached from things. It is all the gaps are being filled now, and it's knitted together very, very well to create a great place to be able to walk around and wander. And in the past you couldn't do that in places like Qatar and Dubai and Saudi and stuff like that because of the heat, but you can see how they've managed to turn desert into green grounds and trees and fields and parks. All of that allows the area to breathe, and for people to breathe, and to be able to walk and navigate without feeling like you're going to have to rely on a car. And the biggest success story, again, and I'll touch on it briefly because I've done it also in other videos, about this 220 billion that Qatar has spent on the football. It hasn't, that's a lie. It spent it on infrastructure, and the metro system that it is developed is absolutely amazing. Brand new stations connecting every corner, and there are other phases to come. But what they have done, and these fans, 1.5 million fans that are extra that came here during this football, they've been able to see, the vast concourses that just allowed thousands of people just to sail through smoothly from one station to another. There is a very logical route map to it, very easy to find your way from one place to another, and of course they got thousands of volunteers and staff to help you should you come unstuck. And they want to reduce the reliance on cars, hence why they've occupied the empty spaces with more buildings, more spaces for people to congregate in, parks, connecting these spaces together so that there's a proper sense of place, and you can then cycle, walk, scooter around, often in the shade, without the sun or the climate being a barrier. And that's the remarkable transformation, and that's where a lot of that money has gone, in the infrastructure. And that infrastructure hasn't been put in for a month's worth of football, it's been put on for another 100 years for them. They needed it because they haven't had that. They used the football as a catalyst to improve their transport access, improve their recreation, social, sporting, cultural facilities, improve roads and highways, parking, airports, train stations, bus stations. So that's where all of the money is gone. It's a complete disservice, but then that's the agenda for some people. They want to make it sound like it's been a huge disaster, it's been a waste of money, but it hasn't. Qatar has literally spent the last 10 years and transformed itself from a tiny desert country to a country with the highest GDP per head of population in the world. There's only 300,000 of them, and the rest foreign. But everybody, I think, and I firmly believe that trickle-down economics actually is working here, and it does work here. And don't believe all the nonsense about the migrant workers. Yes, of course there are issues that need to be resolved, but it's not simply down to the Qatari authorities. A lot of these migrants are trafficked, they're being taken advantage of by people in their own countries long before they get here in Doha and in Qatar. And those things need to be looked at. The Qataris don't do the construction. There aren't very few Qatari companies here who've been responsible for a lot of the infrastructure, stadium works and the football. The foreign, I mentioned earlier in other videos, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, European, Spanish, American companies. Those are the people that we should be going after. Those are the people that are responsible for the building sites. Those are the people who are responsible for implementing the health and safety rules and regulations. It's too easy to just point the finger at Qataris. You know, they've awarded the contracts and they expected, yes, of course there should be checks and balances, and they need to make sure. But in 10 years, look at this country. It's gone from that single Sheraton building at West Bay on the other end of this Corniche to this magnificent metropolis over there. The old part here slowly developing. You know, in 10 years they've got to this. To an army of hundreds of thousands of foreign workers, foreign companies. And of course it's been one of the biggest building sites in the world. In fact, I can't imagine there is another one that has been like it or will be like it. You know, because a lot of other countries that are hosting big events have a lot of this infrastructure in place already. And here you are in the middle of the desert. They've created green oases, play areas, parkland for people, families especially, and children to be able to enjoy. All of this has taken time, effort, energy, and of course lots of money. And they've had to accelerate a lot of that, really, because they had 10 years in which to put together this event. An event that so many countries have thought about putting on dreamt about hosting, but for a whole host of reasons, not just money, simply haven't been able to. And here we are, Qatar, a tiny nation, has taken the bull by the, or the camel by the hump, and really put on a spectacular showpiece. And that doesn't quite sit with some people's agendas, and you know what, they don't care. And look, those of us that are here, those of us that have come here and enjoyed this World Cup, another 3 days to go before the final, everybody that's come here has been able to rebuke and debunk the lies and the myths spread about this place, mainly from our UK and European Western media, whose agenda we know is double-edged, because on the one hand we enjoy the Qatari investments, and then we on the other hand we try to slap them down. How dare they even try and attempt to put on a show like this. But they have, and they have been very, very successful right up to the very closing stages of this World Cup. Just a cafe there, very, very busy. Later in the evening there's standing room only here after 6 o'clock. Highly recommend it. Beautiful seafood restaurant. And here we are again, looking back at the old Doha. When I mean old, I mean the old part of Doha that's of course been modernized and developed to reflect the changing landscape. And in a separate video of the Museum of Islamic Art, MIA Park, that's where it is. That's where, there in the background, the green lungs of Doha, old Doha city centre, the new lungs. And I've made a short video of Aspire Park next to Sports City, which you can have a look at. Explains to you how the 88 hectares of green oasis is helping Dohans and Doha to breathe more easily in 2022. Far cry from the days when it was desert sand. So there you go. A couple of nights ago, when the Moroccans were playing the French in the semi-final, this big screen over there that you can see, I'll zoom in for a second and explain how far it is, and you can see how far it is. So apart from the fans, I had the lucky ones that had the tickets. There are the official fan zones, which could only be accessed by people with an official hire access card. There you go, very green spaces over there. And then there were those that had neither tickets nor hire cards, so they would congregate around one of those many screens around Doha. And I kid you not, this road here was closed. I'm standing here, good 250 meters from the screen. That's MIA Park in the background. This road was closed. The park there were people literally at the back there, over there, along here, across this road, across this path, from both sides, directly in front, watching this screen. And I did a long shot. I tried to, I estimate between 25 and 30,000 people, just heads. That's all you can see. If you get a chance, look at my video on YouTube. It's literally just heads. That's how football mad this tiny country is. That everybody that's anybody dropped everything to watch this game. And of course you got a bit of a focal point there, centre with all the flags. It's not football flags, by the way. I think this is like the UN flag there flying. So this square, it's the first time I'm seeing it. I think it's recent. I just want to point out just one other building that's quite close to me here in Doha, and that's this glass building here. The picture of the French goalkeeper Hugo Lloris. Not sure why I can't see that properly. I'm pointing it directly at the sun. But this black glass building, actually the Doha Planning Department, one of the offices, the Doha Planning Department. Spent a bit of time there. Spent more time teaching some of these guys English than I actually learnt about planning. So they made more use of me than I did of them, but here we are. Mutual respect and understanding, as has been the theme for this World Cup. So there you are, there's that big screen there, and people were literally out here and further back, enjoyed the game. Most of them left with about 10 minutes to go after that second French goal went in. I think they resigned to the fact that it was all over. And here we are, just crossing this little water feature in front of the flags. Somebody decided that all the steps there come straight for me. But so let's walk through, and the idea is that I'll come out the back of here, across MIA Park, onto the Museum of Islamic Art and the Burqa building, just poking out in the back there. You can't see it because of these huge steel flag posts. You see the cruise liners in the background. We just come from there, and there's more. I think we only saw two, but actually there's another two at the back there. And lots of people taking pictures and videos. The last of the lucky few that will have tickets for the final and maybe the third place game happening on Saturday at the Khalifa International Stadium. And I've done a short video on that, which you can have a look again. Sits as part of the wider Sports City complex, includes the Torch Doha Hotel, MIA Park, and the Villaggio Mall shopping centre. So there, you can see in the background there, that cube. There you go. There. I've only seen one side, so you can't see what I was referring to in terms of the design. Well, it looks like the eyes of a woman in a burqa. But this is the back end of it. Big car park, and then the green grass. There are some beautiful food stalls along there. I haven't had anything to eat. Met up with a friend, have a chinwag after the Friday prayers. I've jumped onto the metro, come straight to the museum. So I wanted to capture some footage during daylight, and I've been lucky to be able to capture this video while it's still light as well. But there you are, I'm heading towards the back of MIA Park. This lush green, open space, tree-lined area, which is a magnet for people, families, picnics, for kickabout, exercise. You'd never imagine it 10 years ago. And if you're looking at this picture here, you would not know where you were in the world. You'd think you're in a Mediterranean or European country in the summer, because there are no obvious signs apart from the football or the branding, of course. What I mean is that the park, the paths, the lighting, the trees, the buildings, could be anywhere in the world. And this is the success story of Qatar and Doha, that they've been able to turn this barren desert into an oasis. And that takes some planning, takes some investment, and it's taken a lot of hard work from everybody that's here, has contributed. And there are plenty of places where that is acknowledged and recognised. And there is billboards and signposts and wayfinding. So they absolutely recognise, appreciate and are grateful for the vast majority. I'm talking 85 to 90% of foreigners, migrants, immigrants, expats who have helped make this place what it is today. So I'm now heading into park proper, and I should come out at the back of the MIA building, and in the background you can hear all the birds chirping. There are a lot of them. It's one of the great sounds of MIA Park. It's the first thing that you hear, not the traffic, not the hustle and bustle, but the birds. There you are. More greenery, more planting, and something a little bit more artificial. It's actually a phone mast. It's hidden under the guise of a palm tree with the dates hanging off it. Signs of the times, really. These things, they have to be somewhere. We're all wanting instant access to super fast Wi-Fi, broadband on the move, etc. And these masts and medical science is still unproven in terms of how much damage it's doing to us. But it's something that we like to avoid or ignore or pretend we don't see, but it exists because it serves a purpose. So how we reconcile with it is a long debate for another time, but here we are. It's like a forest jungle out here. All you can see is just birds. You see, this is a desert. If you came here 10 years ago, I showed you a picture from 10-12 years ago, the transformation has been nothing less than phenomenal. It is a very calm, peaceful place. The only noise from nature. And here you are. And I did a walk, nighttime walk at the back of the MIA building and the Laguna. We're looking into city centre, skyscape at the back of these palm trees. There you are, that's your MIA building. Look at that expanse of green space. It stretches right the way across over there. Water fountains, bins, art installations, seating, food on the go. And again, some of these pop-up food places are actually permanently here all the time. There are games like any other park around the world. 360, table tennis, lovely seating areas that just lets you. But actually the grass is so soft and lush and green and dry that you could spend hours sitting here, and people do. There is soft and hard play areas for children around that red fencing, and the park continues beyond those trees, as we've seen from the footage of the other side. And again, just for context, just looking back towards that where the sun is about to set. You can see the spiral mosque there at the souk. There you got your MIA building. Rest of the park. You'll have seen from my other videos, this place takes a different complexion at night with all the lights and the lighting. So you've got one view now, you've had the night view in a separate video. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you from another place here in Doha with another video as we draw closer to the World Cup final and conclusion to this magnificent showcase of people from all over the world coming here in a melting pot of cultures and a carnival atmosphere. And credit to the Qataris for being able to provide a magnificent occasion for people to enjoy from right around the world.